Hello Floss Tube, Gira80 here, or Gemma, for my February update, which I'm lucky I've only just fitted in, as it is towards the end of February and I'm actually going away for the weekend now, so this is literally my last opportunity to keep you updated with what's going on with my stitching in February. Sorry about the lighting. Unfortunately, the sun keeps deciding to come out when it feels like it, but it is still wintry and wet in the UK. So let's get started. Right, there's a couple of things that I want to discuss with you, but I am going to try and keep this video short. I've got some WIP updates. A small haul which I made reference to in my last video. My daughter, who also stitches on and off and picks things up as and when she feels like it, would also like me to show her progress as well. So there's a few things that I'm going to be covering today. The first thing, I suppose, first things first, is my WIP progress. So I only stitch one project at a time. I've been participating in the Mirabilia sale, which was started by MrsMilkybarkid, and I know lots of floss tubers are also participating in as well, and again it's great watching all your progress videos as well as seeing any Instagram updates and things like that. So I'm stitching a deer for any of those that might be joining for the first time, and this is my progress. Let's see, so far she isn't looking quite so creepy as she did a couple of days ago, when literally, whereas I normally go along in blocks, the 1/1, which I decided to stitch her skin and flesh in, was seriously killing my stitchy bug. It was taking a lot longer, not that it's a race, but it was taking a lot longer, and obviously working as well, I wasn't finding it such a relaxing experience as I normally would when I stitch, so I was finding it harder to pick it up. So I decided that I would just get the flesh tones done, and then that way all I've got to contend with is the metallics and any beading, which I'm quite happy, that doesn't bother me in the slightest. I am pleased with how she's come out with the 1/1. I can't say I would never do it again. As a first time, maybe shouldn't have picked a pattern with quite so much flesh showing, but it did kill my stitchy bug a little bit. And you know, when you stitch normally, as in the if you're stitching on even weaves and linens, and you're doing the 2/2, it's a Mirabelia. It looks really pretty no matter what you decide to stitch on. I'm pleased I've done it, and I'm pleased I've tried it, and I'm never going to say never, but I'm not sure that I would do it again. I do enjoy stitching the Mirabilias. They are so much more pretty. That's not really the right grammar, but they are so pretty in person. The photos really don't do them justice. So, and what you get on the front of the patterns. So, you know, I'm really pleased with how she's progressing, and now I've got all the 1/1 stitched, which was why she was looking a little bit creepy if you follow me on Instagram, because I'd done all the flesh, and then there was no hair, and so she just looked like a bald face. But I'm pleased I've got that done, and I'm starting to get my stitchy bug back, it never went really, because I was still looking into doing other projects and things, but yeah, I'm pleased that she sort of, I feel like she's progressing, whereas it took me about 2 weeks on just her skin tones, and it was just a little bit monotonous, I felt, for me, towards the end, and that's why I was like, I must get it done, because I wasn't wanting to pick her up, and I don't tend to start other projects. So yeah, just for the record, this is again, it never seems to really show the fabric, but this is an opalescent fabric. It was from the Crafty Kitten, and it's mottled sage, and it's Belfast 32 count. So yeah, I mean, the fabric's lovely, no complaints. I'm really liking the way, when I chose the fabric, it was because I knew it would be a contrast with the yellow, so I knew that she'd pop, and she's the garden fairy, so green would be appropriate as well. So I'm really pleased with how she's progressing, and I'm happy with that. To the small haul that I received, or actually I suppose I have been doing, I don't think I've been showing you, but I have been doing, sorry, I'm going to rustle around now, the Country Cottage Needleworks Christmas ornaments, they're called, that I get sent to me monthly roughly, when they come through, and I've been keeping up with those, and they're ideal because I stitch in hand with these, so they're ideal. Like this weekend I actually found one that I'd completely forgotten that I had over the Christmas period. It must have been sent and I've just put it away, so I'm going to take that with me just in case there's any quiet moments, chill out moments where I can do a bit of stitching over the weekend. But at the moment I have 4 done, and the reason I haven't finished any of these as of yet is because I'm planning on turning them into a bunting to put up at Christmas instead of garlands and things for my house. So I felt it would be better to have them all ready and all ready to be put on the bunting and all ready to go as I make it, as opposed to making them as I go along into the little triangle shapes, because just in case they get altered in any way, or at least if they're all done at the same time, then it can be sort of done all together. So I'm not sure what I have shown you, so if there is a repeat, I apologise. I think you've seen 2 of them. So here's the Christmas cookie. Now I do alter the designs a little bit. For example, on the Christmas cookie, the cookies on here actually called for French knots. I'm not the biggest fan, but I'm not adverse to doing French knots, but sometimes I just felt that it wasn't necessary, and I just liked the way the little cookies were just cookie shaped, because you've got the star cookies and the Christmas tree cookies. I felt that the French knots wasn't necessary for me particularly, so I just didn't do them. And then the second one is to show you is the Christmas cheer with the elves again. There's French knots for the eyes and for the little gold buttons type on their vests. Sorry, the lighting's not great. But there should have been French knots on the presents. I quite liked them the way they were. I didn't feel it was necessary to try and squeeze in some little French knots for me, so I was quite happy to keep it as it was. And the button, because each one comes with a button if you so wish, a little white star button, oh dear, was patterned to go on the dot of the eye in Christmas. I didn't particularly want it there, so I put it at the top. But that's what's great about patterns, as we all know. We can slightly alter them and change them, and makes them more, not only have we made them ourselves, but they're more personal to us. So that's my up-to-date so far, and obviously I've forgotten about the Snow in Love, I believe it's called, which is on this petite point, I believe, fabric, which is really pretty because it looks like snow. So I'll take this with me. I tend to keep them, I keep all my supplies with anything to do with this in this, it was actually a pillowcase bag. So I keep the pattern and a little box of all the floss that I need and the speciality threads that have come with this, because obviously sometimes they send them through when you need them, but then it will make reference to reuse them in another pattern. So all Country Cottage Needleworks Christmas ornaments stuff is kept in this little zipper bag, and then it's great because I can, it's only little and I can just take it with me, and I know other than putting my scissors in there, I keep needle in here, I'm good to go. I just need to take it with me. So that's my WIP update for February. That's mainly what I've been working on. I'm going to do like a little interlude segment here as regards to not necessarily my stitchy plans. My stitchy plans haven't changed, but the way a lot, or it's my interpretation, a lot of fellow floss tubers have been saying, you know, due to rotations or the projects that they're working on, and they feel under pressure to either stitch or finding the time and guilt, and I do understand that, a bit like the 1/1, you know, I wasn't feeling it, but I wanted to complete it and get it done because I knew then I'd be able to move on to finishing the rest of the project. And it is really hard because ultimately this is something, our time is precious, and it's something that we choose to do for joy, so you don't really want to feel guilty about something that you're meant to be enjoying. So I do totally understand where they're coming from with that, and with that said, that's certainly going to be something that I keep in mind when I'm doing other patterns or my choices in things, and we learn from each other, and that's what's great about it. So I am pleased with the Mirabilia, and even to the point that I've actually looked at some of Nora Corbett's Pixie Couture. I really like some of her designs, so it's certainly not that I wouldn't stitch those sort of things again, because I do enjoy stitching them, but I think maybe I'm just a rebel really, and being told, even though I'm choosing to do it, being told what I should stitch makes me feel pressured in some way, which is really stupid sounding, but that's maybe what it is. So, you know, I'm not sure I'd necessarily join in sales again. I don't know if that's just for me, because I'm a rebel without cause, obviously. That's what it's really down to. But yeah, so anyway, with that in mind, I'm going to talk about my haul, because that also leads on to the next thing that I'm going to say in this interlude, which is obviously you're all very inspiring. I get inspired with your ideas, your colour choices, the changes that you make, and obviously watching FlossTube you find out about new designers and things like that, and that's all very great. I love that side of it. I have been inspired by MrsMilkybarkid in the sense of the thread pawn operation that she's doing, which is basically to make sure that she doesn't reuse threads, and from my understanding doesn't reuse threads, to try and get through her stash, where she's actually using as much as she's using as much as the lovely things that she actually already owns, rather than, obviously it's so easy with sort of top-ups to keep buying and then go, oh, I'm going to use that, and then not get round to it, and I understand that, and so I'm also keeping that in mind, and with that said, I'm also looking at projects where it's like, okay, well, how would I use, I've been buying the antique silks, and it's how would I use those in projects, and I've got to try and use them in some way in a project this year. Not all of them, but make a concerted effort to use them, because they are so lovely and it's such a shame that they won't get used. Because obviously where I'm doing other projects where there's a set pattern thing, so for me I've taken particularly the easy way out, in the sense that I'm picking maybe patterns that just have one colour, so that I can then pick the colour and go with it and make the pattern. So I picked up, let me see where I've put it. I picked up a pattern from 123 Stitch, which was in, they had a sale on the Stickerdine von Weinberg. Totally butchered the name, sorry. If anyone needs to know, I will write it down properly. And I found this pattern there, which I thought, this helps with my, I've used this pattern before, or not the pattern, but I've used this company before in my Dragon Quaker sampler. So I thought, I like their charts, and when I see this pattern I thought, this one is a good idea for me. It is literally one colour. It's been stitched in dark green in this one, but again, fabric choice and colours would be really entirely up to me. It's called the Flower Square Phoebe, and I just felt that that would make a lovely decorative cushion, and possibly using some of my antique silks from Jodyri Designs. So I bought, it's a bit of a mixed bag here, I bought January's limited edition of the Crafty Kitten, because it was muted. I tend to, if I'm going to buy a fabric and I haven't got anything in mind for it, then I'm going to tend to pick things that I think I'm going to easily pick back up, because they're muted in colour. I love the really strong, vivid colours, but I'm probably more than likely going to stitch on things on an off chance that are going to be more muted for my house, so for me. So this, when I see this come up as limited edition, and obviously having some Christmas money, I treated myself. So this, for those that haven't seen it, is the Jodyri Designs, not Jodyri Designs, sorry, Crafty Kitten limited edition fabric for January, and again it's not really showing its true colours, but it's a pale green with like blush pink tones running through it. So I knew I wanted it when I see it, so I bought it. And again, that being said about using stash, I don't have a lot of stash. I'm accumulating, but I don't have loads of stash. But as such, it's more to do with, now I'm being a bit more conscious. I've been inspired to be more conscious about what I do actually own, and maybe pair things together that being a bit clever with how you're pairing things together, rather than go with the standard of what's set and that sort of thing. So not that I won't buy anything, I haven't got enough stash to not need to replenish, but I thought, well, I like this fabric, so what threads could I use with it? So I think at the moment, I haven't ordered them yet, but I had one already in my stash. I'm going to go with the Jodyri Designs Tea Rose, which was one of my favourites in her antique silks collection, and I'm probably going to stitch the Phoebe pattern using, so this pattern, sorry about the glare, this pattern using these materials. And I think that will come out lovely, and it's got the variegation in it, and it'll be a nice bed pillow or something like that, just a decorative pillow to keep downstairs. And I'm using, although I'm going to need to buy more jodyri of the tea rose to complete the pattern, I'm using some of my stash. So yes, thank you Amanda for inspiring me to think more about what I'm going to do with my fabrics and purchases. So yeah, that's certainly on the cards as such, to be stitched, sorry about the rustling, to be stitched in the future. Again, after the Mirabilia, it may be something, I wanted to do Sleepy Hollow, it's in effect, it's definitely going to be my next big project, but I'm thinking I might do something small, not that small, but something easier going, then maybe because of the mirror choosing to do the 1/1, rather than go straight into another big project, I may stitch something like that pillow in between and then start the Sleepy Hollow pattern, which obviously I purchased a while ago. And for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, that's the Sleepy Hollow pattern with loads of glare, sorry. It's a Glendon Place pattern, and as discussed, I've bought some of the beads and things and the acrylic used ready for it. I did also buy some glow-in-the-dark thread because I want to stitch the moon in the glow-in-the-dark. So all that's left to buy is the DMCs, or anchor, but the DM, for me, I'll be picking the DMCs. So all that's left to buy is the DMCs for this pattern. And the fabric, which I probably will buy a hand-dyed fabric. As I said, it was it's requested 28, I think it's haunted cashel linen, 28 count haunted cashel linen from Picture This Plus, hand-dyed. So I'll probably use a UK supplier, but do pick something similar to put the fabric with on the Glendon Place. Sorry, I just can't seem to get my words out today. Maybe it's because I know I need to do it today. I need to take the pressure off. So that's my plans with Sleepy Hollow. So certainly my next big project, I may squeeze in one in between just to give my brain a break. Talking of fabrics, I signed up for Sparklies Fabric of the Month Club, and I received my first one in January. And again, it's not that I'm just into muted colours, because I'm not, and this kind of says it all. It's a lovely vivid, I don't know if you can, pink. It's a mixture of baby pinks and Barbie pinks. It's lovely. What I particularly liked about Sparklies is that I noticed that a lot of her fabrics wasn't a mixture of colours, it was a mixture of one colour in different tones to my naked eye, or colours that are very similar. And for me, I prefer that as a backing. That is just a personal thing. I bought, actually, for my daughter, which I will be showing you, I bought some fabric, again like from the Crafty Kitten, which has got a whole mixture of colours and perfectly suits the projects that she's stitching on them. But I prefer, in preference, which is probably why I bought the mottled sage, actually, because it is a mottled mix of greens and muted colours, and the same with the January limited edition from the Crafty Kitten. It's something that I know I'm more likely to use and find a pattern for than a whole mishmash of colours, unless I'm looking for that in particular. So I'm, again, I'm not totally ruling it out. For some projects it's absolutely perfect. For a lot of the projects I tend to pick, it's not really. They'd be better with a sort of a mottled one-tone-ish look. I know what I mean. I understand if none of you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, so I mean, for example, I love playing with colour, so because this is all different pinks, I would naturally want to stitch something that's quite green on it, because I know that's going to pop. So that's where the Fairy Couture from Pixie Couture from Nora Corbett Designs would come in handy, because that greens that they'd be using would really pop on fabric like this. I like that, so I'm really pleased with my first fabric of the month from Sparklies, and I look forward to many more to come. So this is 28 count Brittany, this piece. So, but yes, I'm very pleased with that. Going back to use what you have in your stash moment. This is when I was having a bit of a stash clear out one weekend, or not clear out, that's the wrong word, because I didn't get rid of anything. Don't tell my husband I said that. But trying to see if I had pieces of fabric that actually were ready for projects that I've got potentially could be doing. That's what I was doing. So I actually purchased this. I have done one of these projects before by this designer, which was the strawberry cheesecake one that I did. This is the chocolate cake sampler. I actually picked this one up off of eBay because I couldn't find this pattern, so this was an eBay purchase for chocolate cake, and it only calls for I don't even think it has one speciality stitch in it, but it's not. It's just these little stars at the top. It's not difficult, and it's got some beading, some chocolate beads in it. So it's, again, this could be my next project technically after the Mirabelia, because I do enjoy it. I find her designs more relaxing, more chilling. It does call for 28 count, but I do have this, which I picked up from eBay, but this is actually 32 count, and it's called Chocolate and Vanilla Swirl, which my daughter finds hilarious, which I thought would actually be quite appropriate. So although it will come out slightly smaller, I had it in my stash and I thought, oh well, actually I might decide to stitch the chocolate cake sampler on the 32 count instead, because it's in my stash, and obviously then it gets used. I don't have to buy more fabric. All I've got to do is just top up on a couple of DMC threads. There was only one pack of beads, like chocolate coloured Mill Hill beads. So yeah, this would be a pretty cheap project overall to actually stitch in the end, but perfect for, I love her designs. Much like the cherry cheesecake, there's something quite cutesy about them, so I like those. The chocolate and vanilla swirl, 32 count Belfast linen, and it was a silk weaver, pattern. It was a silk weaver fabric, which again I picked that up off of eBay. I look on eBay for certain things that I know I can't get. I don't tend to buy charts and things that I know I can get from needlecraft shops, even though I have to shop online because there isn't really anywhere around here that does them. But so I don't tend to buy current patterns. I only buy patterns that I've either not seen before or could be discontinued, and I will check to make sure that they're just not available anymore, and that's when I'll tend to buy them, because ultimately it is a form of recycling as well, so you know, I'm quite happy to pay for that pattern. that someone else has used, so that's not a problem if I can no longer get it. This pattern is one of my favourites that I've had an eye on for a long time, along with the Mirabilia, the chatelaine. I really do like it. It has got some speciality stitches in it, so that's why I will stitch it, but I'm not sure it's necessarily after the Mirabilia is going to be like, oh yes, I must pick that up and do it, because I think that's just do a pattern that's going to be easy on the eye, easy on the brain, and then I tend to get my second wind of, oh, let's try something a bit different, because I do use stitching as a form of relaxation, so ultimately I don't really want to be doing anything that's going to give me a headache or stress me out, because again I tend not to want to do it, and that's such a shame. But this is Creation. It's by Tempting Tangles, and obviously it's actually from an extract from the book of Genesis, so it's a biblical story. Not that that's necessarily the sort of things that I'm into, but when I see this pattern, I just liked it. I really liked it. I like the colours, I like the design. I just fell in love with it, and I had my eye on it for a long time, so I finally took the plunge and bought it. Surprisingly, I mean, this pattern, I don't think you'll be able to see, but this pattern is quite heavily detailed, and yes, it does have speciality stitches in it. Actually, not as much as I thought when I went through the pattern, but it does have speciality stitches in it, but it's actually all DMC colours, so looking at it, I'm prepared that it could be quite confetti heavy, because the tones and the blend of colours is absolutely amazing, and that's a picture of it, and normally the pictures don't do the project's justice, so I will do this, and I am looking forward to getting this one started at some point. Again, I'm not putting pressure on myself, but I know that I will want to stitch this at some point. Now this calls for 26 count fabric, a raw linen, they've said. I've got, and I'm not ruling that out, but I've got in my stash a Lugana that's 25 count, that's ivory, so just quite plain. And because I've got it in my stash, unless when the time comes, unless I completely change my mind, I don't see why it wouldn't go on here equally as nicely. So again, I use some of my stash, and I've kitted it or put it with a project, so all that's left for me to buy is the DMCs for Creation. So I'm kind of slowly matching things up. I've actually really enjoyed the process, actually, because then it's also reminded me what I do have as regards to stash and threads and things, and then when I'm looking at patterns, I can, like, even through the magazines, I'm thinking, oh, actually that would look nice if I did that in this thread using this fabric. So yeah, I know that there's lots of projects that are going on that can, you know, that I can keep my eye on and look out for. I do believe that is technically the end of my plans and my segment, other than my daughter's projects. So I did, for Christmas, Amy had already done 2 Clouds Factory projects. She did, which I can't find. They're in her bedroom, which in this house is commonly known as the pit of despair. She is a teenager, and I could rifle through her stuff. I'm not going to. So I couldn't find them offhand. I grabbed these because she's working on this at the moment, so I know where it was. But yeah, she's already previously done 2 Clouds Factory designs, She'd never stitched before, and I felt she did really, really well. She'd done Adventure Time, which is a cartoon that she's into, and she did Hercules, Disney's Hercules, because that's one of her favourite Disney films. So, and she did them on 14 count, and there were just there was actually ones that I had in my stash already, the 14 count, and I felt that she'd done really well with those. So as Christmas was approaching and we bought her a couple of things, and it's like, okay, what else can we top her up with and buy? I thought, oh, I'll have a look on Clouds Factory, because she does check it regularly, and then she'll be like, I like this pattern, I want to do this pattern, I want to do this pattern. So they had a special where you bought the Disney princesses and the Disney villains as a sort of pack together, but they're two separate patterns. So I purchased that. I bought only these little plastic zip bag things. I bought two, and I wrapped them up. I printed off the design. So this is the Disney villains. Wrong way round. This is the Disney villains design. I printed them off, put them in these Ziploc bags, and then I chose two fabrics that I felt that she would really enjoy working on, because she'd watched me work on hand-dyed fabrics and things, and I thought she'll really enjoy watching me enjoy working on these, and she'll know that they were specifically chosen for her and her patterns and in mind and those sort of things. So she had the Disney princess, so I believe, hold on a second, because I think, I don't want to get the name wrong again. Yeah, I bought Fairy Dust Opalescent from the Crafty Kitten, and I bought Fairy Wings Opalescent from the Crafty Kitten. So two fabrics to go with the two patterns. So let me just check that I'm going to get this the right way round. I'm looking at this one. Okay, so this is Fairy Wings, this one, and this is where she's at. She's had it in a Q snap, so it's actually quite like scrunched up. Again, you'll find it difficult, I'm sure, to see the pattern, but you can see the lovely mottled colours. So don't get me wrong, as designers go, I love the mixture of colours. For my work, it doesn't work with a lot of my patterns that I'm choosing, but that's not to say that I don't appreciate them, because I do. And for this sort of thing, where you've got the bright colours of the Disney princesses, and you get this mottled, and obviously it's an opalescent fabric, I think it really, really works. So she's coming along quite well with that. Like I said, she's not, whereas I'm more likely to pick up stitching almost every day, Amy will phase in and out of her stitchy bug, but she'll do it for a good few days, and then she'll put it down for a week or so, and then she'll do it for a good few days. And her favourite so far is Jasmine, and I've noticed that I think the reason for that is because her stitching's getting better. She's neater, she's watching how she's using her thread more. So although you can guide them, you don't want it to be a chore. Again, you don't want it to be regimental, and you know, these are her patterns, her designs, so you just encourage them to try and do the best they can. And she noticed that her stitching seems to have got neater, and even, I'm not going to show the back because that's unfair, it's not mine, but even when I'm looking at the back, on the back of Princess Jasmine, which I think this is here, it's neat. So you can tell when she's now starting to get into the flow of how to stitch sort of neatly, and not getting the little bird's nests at the back of the fabric and these sort of things. So yeah, she's really coming along, and she's really enjoying it, which is great, because that means that we can sit there and to a certain degree I can chat about things, and that's what's ideal about Cloud Factory. Cloud Factory are perfect, I think, for they're perfect because they're bright colours and they're fun, but they're perfect as well if it's for a new stitcher, because each, or even for my daughter's teenager, because it keeps their attention span. Because even as she completes one character, she's like, I've completed that character. There are lots of little finishes, whereas maybe a whole pattern might have been a little bit too much. I mean, don't get me wrong, she absolutely adores the Heaven and Earths, but I said I think that's something that you need to look at later, because you don't want them to feel disheartened and put off by their progress or lack thereof, by doing such a big design to start with. So I think like the little designs are ideal, and the craft factory is perfect. It's bright colours, it's themed, like I said, she's done Adventure Time, which is a cartoon that she really enjoys. She's done Hercules, which she's finished, and now she's on her Disney princesses. They're all things that she's into, she can connect with quite easily, and yeah, they suit her and her personality and those sort of things. So yeah, that's her Disney princesses. Obviously she hasn't started her Disney villains, as I showed you, but I've tried to pick a fabric that matched but wasn't the same. So for the princesses I picked, it's got pinks and lilacs and peachy colours, all in with the Disney princesses, but to make sure that with all the bold colours of the princesses that they wouldn't clash, it wouldn't get lost. But with the villains, obviously they're villains, so they're darker, so in colour and obviously in personality. So I picked the fairy dust for this one. Now obviously it's just blues and purples, which, because I didn't want anything too heavy, again it's an opalescent fabric, but I just felt that that would be more suitable, and because it's got the blues and the purples in it, once it's up against the really light pinks and peaches and lilacs of the Disney princesses, you can see that this would hint towards it being a darker subject by doing the villains. So yeah, that's basically, I kitted it all up for her. I bought her the fabrics, I then bought her a storage, a bobbins, I bought her bobbins, I bought her the stickers, and then the DMC stickers. I then bought her the storage, you know, our normal storage boxes that we tend to store bobbins in. I bought her those, and I wrapped it all up as part of her present for Christmas. And she was absolutely thrilled. She was like, oh, you know, special fabric and this sort of thing. So yeah, it's quite nice to see those sort of reactions about crafts as well that I'm equally interested in. So it's quite nice that we can bond together. So I did also buy a needle minder as well, which was from Lisa at No More Lost Needles, and it was Elsa, as it would most likely be, because she's also a huge Frozen fan. So I do believe, don't quote me, but I think these she can no longer stock the Frozen, or this particular type of Frozen needle minder anymore. But it's always worth going to check her out on Facebook anyway. No More Lost Needles. So yeah, that is my February update. My plans for next month are to try and get the Mirabilia finished, not under any pressure to do so, but purely because thinking about what I'd like to achieve in the future. Obviously I've got a Christmas WIP that I put away, which was the Primitive Hair, the Dickens one, Christmas Carol. I'm thinking, because of the way that work was last year, I'm preempting that it's going to be the same this year, so I'll bring that out a month sooner in November and work on it through November and December. And also obviously I would quite like to get the Glendon Place one finished before Halloween. Again, I've totally alleviated the pressures off of it must be done. I'm not no must be doings anything, but with an idea of what I would like to get stitched. That's sort of a loose plan that I have. So yes, basically that is my plan of action for 2015 so far. I'm sure I'll throw in a few extras every now and again for myself. But yeah, just a shout out to all you wonderful floss tubers. I love watching your videos. A thank you to my subscribers and to any new subscribers. It's absolutely amazing. It's a joy to read your comments and to watch any floss tube videos or even updates on Instagram. I also do enjoy, even though after saying that I don't think I'd participate in sales, I am really enjoying the Wonderfully Hopeless and the Miss Mell, the combination of the sales. Although I'm not joined, I don't join in on Facebook in that way. But to watch your videos, it's really quite fun when it's like, right, and next week I'm going to be starting this project, and I just think to myself, oh no, that would brain melt me. But I enjoy watching your progress, and even some of you have done the finishes as well. It's absolutely amazing. How you can get, I'm obviously not a fast stitcher, but yeah, I really enjoy watching the floss tube videos and being part of this floss tube community. Hopefully I won't leave it too long next time for another update. Don't think there's anything else left to say, but I hope you have a fantastic March. I'm sure I will speak to you at some point then, but I hope you will have a fantastic March. Happy stitching, and I will speak to you later. Bye bye.